Moanalua Valley may be a blur to most people zipping by in their cars while driving over Red Hill on H1 freeway. But beyond the homes and golf course that stretch along part of the valley lies a place that's being preserved for its natural and historical treasures. More than 3,700 acres of the valley has been dedicated for permanent protection through the work of a community partnership which includes Hawaii's congressional delegation and the Trust for Public Land, or TPL, a national nonprofit land conservation organization. The Trust's Hawaiian Islands Program Director says dedication of the land will protect the area's natural treasures for future generations. She also says the rich history of the Hawaiian family that lived in and continues to care for the area will be preserved.
There's so many stories about what used to be. You know, hey, this used to be where King's Bakery used to be. Or, oh, that's where the okazu used to be. Or that's where I used to fish. Or that's where my auntie took me swimming. It is so fitting that on this occasion to mark that there aren't going to be any more stories about what used to be here. That in fact, you know, that this valley will be here in perpetuity, and that the Ohana can look back at this and not say, this used to be where the Elapaio was, or this used to be where my family used to gather plants for La'au Lapa'au.
Moanalua is known as a dwelling place of the supernatural beings. My family were caretakers of all these supernatural things. The Konahiki fish of Moanalua is the mullet. This is very sacred land, and I'm so glad that the DLNR and the Trust for Public Lands has partnered along with the military to care for this aina. This is where the sacred chiefs of old, the kings and queens, are all buried. And I'm here to steward this place. The continuity of stewardship never ceased in my family. Before me was my dad, his mother, their mothers, and so forth from the beginning. And it's so amazing. This is my 4th year of celebration of stewarding this place, very discreet. And yesterday's ceremony, we had a personal family ceremony up in the valley to appease all the ones that are resting here and for everybody's protection as we move forward to educate for the people of Hawaii.
Kamana Nui and Kamana Iki valleys is the traditional name of Moanalua Valley, once considered as the route for the H3 freeway, which was eventually built in nearby Halawa Valley. TPL also notes the valleys have also been threatened by residential development for 2 decades. TPL says the valleys contain 5 distinct forest types and more than 9 miles of streams. The native forest is a habitat for endangered plants and animals, including the Elapaio forest bird. The last sighting of the Oahu creeper, or o'o, occurred in the valleys, which is the home to several culturally important sites, including a stone carved with unique petroglyphs found nowhere else in Hawaii. The partnership that's permanently protecting the valleys involves TPL, Hawaii's congressional delegation, state and federal agencies including the Army, and landowner Damon Estate. Congressman Neil Abercrombie says the effort was helped by the positions of Hawaii's congressional delegation on key committees in the House and Senate.
Fortuitously, I'm able to serve on both committees that have the opportunity to participate with all those in the state and foundations and all the other groups and individuals associated here. The Natural Resources Committee has jurisdiction, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and of course working with Colonel Killian and all the others in the Army and the Armed Services Committee.
Permanent protection of the land is a result of negotiations between TPL and Damon Estate on a $5.5 million purchase price. Funds for the purchase came from federal and state sources. That involved an endangered species conservation fund at the federal government's U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the U.S. Department of Defense's Army Compatible Use Buffer Program. The buffer program enables the Army to help communities to protect endangered species and to support local planning and conservation efforts. The valleys will be open to the public for hiking, hunting, preservation work, and education. The back of the valleys will be a wildlife preserve.
And what I want to do today is say thank you, particularly from the federal side to Dananoy. One of the first things that he indicated when the possibilities for this combination of resources being put together was discussed is that our delegation would commit ourselves, and he mentioned to me in terms of the partnership that we have in the delegation, that I would be able to utilize my position on the Resources Committee in the House to work together under his leadership to accomplish this. In that context, the Senator and I, and Senator Akaka, by virtue of his being on the Armed Services Committee, have worked with particularly the Army, but with the military in general, to try and make certain that environmentally speaking, that the military was in the leadership position, not following, but in the leadership position of seeing to it that our natural resources were protected, and most particularly that the environment, particularly in terms of the creatures and the flora and fauna of Hawaii, were not just protected but nurtured. And so the buffer program that's been mentioned may be something that we think we know about, but it has particular a keen reference to that idea of trying to work with the military to see to it that the environment is enhanced, not just protected. We have that buffer program operating right now on Kauai. We would not be able to utilize the barking sands activities, the possibilities for barking sands, particularly for the Pacific in the 21st century, if it was not for that buffer program. We couldn't have done things at Pupukea if we had not had the same program in operation, and we most certainly would not have been able to do it today.
8 months prior to this day, Congressman Abercrombie represented the congressional delegation at another dedication ceremony on Oahu's North Shore. That gathering celebrated the permanent protection of an area called Pupukea Paumalu. It's a 1,200-acre coastal property that serves as a scenic backdrop for international surf contests. That event culminated a move to protect the land that began in the late 1980s when plans first surfaced for a residential development in the area.
One of the less known aspects of the Department of Defense is its commitment to seeing to it that land gets preserved. We're able to take advantage of that here. Count on us to be able to work together, federal, state, county, nonprofit groups, and individuals everywhere in the community, to make sure that we understand that the language of this land, represented in the original prayer, in the original Oli, the language of this land will be the language that we will speak, not just to ourselves, but to generations to come.
A public-private partnership involving TPL eventually came together and provided the support that was needed to purchase that land with local, state, and federal funds. The Army's buffer program, again, was a key to the Pupukea Paumalu land purchase.
The author of all of that, not just here in Hawaii, but across the nation, in terms of environmental protection and enhancement, is Senator Inouye, and it's an honor for me today to not just mention that fact to you as if this was the first time you ever heard anything that could be attributed to Dan Inouye, but to say to you that that kind of leadership is something that I think more than ever today is not only needed, but manifests itself in what is taking place today. This dedication would not be possible without it, and it's an honor for me to be here with him today to acknowledge it.
I just hope and pray that we do take care of what we have left, because this place is very, very special. Kamana Nui, extraordinary powers. Kamana Iki, subtle but strong, our brothers and sisters. The waters that come out of Kamana Nui is the waters of the Wahine. The waters coming out of Kamana Iki, this is the water of Kane. When they do meet, they become the water of life.
And in fact, this valley will continue for future generations, and it won't be any more stories about what used to be.
Yeah.